Have you ever watched a Battlefield 5 tier list video and thought to yourself, this isn't the correct ranking at all? Well, I'm here to fix that. I present the correct and most accurate Battlefield 5 meta guns tier list. Let's go! I've set up a ranking system between S and F tier, with S being for the best guns and F for the worst. Let's start with the classic, the Sten, which goes in D tier. The Sten shoots 540 rounds per minute with pretty low recoil. It's a 4-shot kill up to 10 meters, 5-shot till 20 meters, 6-shot till 30, 7-shot till 50, 8-shot till 75, and if for some reason you're trying to snipe with an SMG, it's 9-shot forever after 75 meters. A lot of the SMGs that I'll be talking about in this video follow the same damage model, and I'll just be referring to it as the Sten model from now on. The Sten is the default gun you start with as a medic, but unfortunately, it's not very good. I placed this gun down in D tier because of its slow time to kill and lack of light and stock. Light and stock is a specialization that some weapons have that allows the player to move 60% faster while aiming down sight and is one of the best specs in the game. So if a gun doesn't have it, in most cases it means that gun won't be as good. I run the hipfire specs on the Sten in order to somewhat make up for the limited mobility due to not having light and stock. Also, I always choose quick aim over swings and swivels because I think it's arguably more important to be able to aim down sight faster than your opponent than being able to stop sprinting sooner. Next up is the Suomi, which is an A tier. The Suomi shoots 770 rounds per minute and has 20 bullets, but you can choose to upgrade the rate of fire to 980 rounds per minute or the magazine size to hold 50 bullets. It follows the Sten damage model and is the second gun you unlock as a medic. The Suomi is an A tier because of its incredibly fast time to kill and ability to mow down large groups of enemies. It also has decent hipfire capabilities. The only drawbacks are the high recoil and lack of light and stock. But light and stock isn't as big of a deal on this weapon since its high rate of fire means that you'll be killing enemies before they can even shoot back. The best specialization path is to choose extended mag since 20 bullets is just not enough for a high rate of fire weapon. Moving on to a C tier weapon, we have the Tromboncino, which is one of 3 bolt-action carbines in the medic class. It can shoot up to 100 rounds per minute and is a 2-shot up to 75 meters and a 3-shot forever after. Because of the 2x headshot multiplier for bolt-action carbines, it takes 1 headshot up to 75 meters and a headshot and a body shot after 75 meters. While I believe that this gun is better than a lot of the bolt actions in the recon class, for this tier list I'm going to be comparing it to guns in the medic class only. This is an average C tier weapon because of how situational it is. It only really outcompetes other weapons between 50 and 75 meters. I should also mention that the Tromboncino is super quirky and unique because of its built-in grenade launcher. The launcher is terrible against tanks and inconsistent against infantry, so it's really only good for trolling. For specializations, I go with light and stock and upgrade the rate of fire with machine bolt. Now we have the MAB 38, which is a solid B tier. This gun shoots 600 rounds per minute and follows the Sten damage model. While the MAB doesn't have the fastest time to kill, or light and stock, it has insane hipfire. You will rarely see a good MAB user aiming down sight because of just how good the hipfire is. You can even hipfire pretty accurately at medium range. Because you strafe much faster while hipfiring, it's more difficult for the enemies to hit you. Also, as a side note, I know I'm being a campy shitter in this clip, but I really wanted to include it just so I could show how goddamn stupid the houses on Merida are. Anyways, I of course go with the improved hipfire specializations and tack on quick reload since higher muzzle velocity doesn't really matter for most SMGs. We have arrived at the worst medic weapon and perhaps the worst weapon in all of Battlefield 5, the Commando Carbine. This is a bolt-action carbine that shoots it up to 109 rounds per minute and is a 2-shot up to 50 meters, 3-shot up to 75 meters, and a 4-shot after that. Yes, you heard me right. This is a bolt-action that has only a 2-shot up to a measly 50 meters. This gun literally has no ideal range. It also has an extremely slow muzzle velocity, slower than some of the SMGs even after the high-velocity bullets upgrade. It doesn't have light and stock, and the rate of fire is barely higher than the Tromboncino. The only time that this gun should ever be used is by a PC aim god who wants to show off, or if a sadistic burglar breaks into your house while you're playing Battlefield, points a gun at your head and forces you to whip out the Commando Carbine while tears stream down your face. For specializations, I improve the muzzle velocity and rate of fire and choose to enhance hipfire accuracy over the extended mag because the extended mag only increases the mag size from 8 to 11 bullets. What an absolute joke. Moving on to a nice C tier weapon, the Wellgun. The Wellgun shoots 568 rounds per minute and follows the Sten damage model. This gun is quite similar to the MAB in that it has incredibly good hipfire accuracy. Just like the MAB, you should be hipfiring with this gun in most cases and putting yourself in situations where you can hipfire effectively. That means not fighting between head glitches and not engaging enemies until they're in hipfire range. The reason the Wellgun is a C tier while the MAB is a B tier is that the Wellgun has a slower rate of fire and a lot more horizontal recoil than the MAB. Even though this gun actually has light and stock, I go with the hipfire specs because of just how good hipfire is. We all knew this was coming. The Type 2A. Of course it's an S tier. The Type 2A shoots at 1,028 rounds per minute with 31 bullets, but you can choose to upgrade the rate of fire to 1,200 or the mag size to 51. It basically follows the Sten damage model with one extra bullet at each range. While the Type 2A has incredibly high recoil, its massive mag size and extremely fast time to kill makes it an absolute monster. In extreme close quarters, nothing can beat this gun except maybe a shotgun. The 2A has been widely criticized by many people in the Battlefield 5 community because of its substantial ease of use. You can basically just hold down the trigger and spray, and the high rate of fire and large mag size mean that even with poor aim, you'll have a high chance of killing the enemy. If you're genuinely trying to improve in this game, I'd recommend not using the 2A because it can act like a crutch and hinder you from developing good aim and positioning. But I don't think it's the best medic weapon in the game. Stick around to find out what is. For specializations, I run the extended mag and choose recoil buffer to mitigate the high vertical recoil. Next is the electromagnetic pulse, or the EMP, which is a D tier weapon. It shoots at 568 rounds per minute and follows the Sten damage model. The recoil is manageable and the hipfire accuracy is okay. The main issue with EMP is that it's just not very good at anything. While it has light in stock, the accuracy and recoil aren't good enough for it to be a laser beam, and the hipfire isn't good enough for it to be a consistent tactic. The best thing about the EMP is the exceptionally satisfying sound it makes when it fires. God, that's nice. For specs, I go with light in stock and recoil buffer. Moving on to a personal favorite of mine, the grease gun. The grease gun has a slower rate of fire of 450 rounds per minute and a high damage model with 3 shots to kill up to 10 meters, 4 shots to 20 meters, 5 shots to 30, 6 shots to 50, 7 shots to 75, and 8 shots after. This is essentially the Sten model with 1 less bullet at each range. The grease gun comes with light in stock, a suppressor, a quick time to kill at close range, and decent hipfire accuracy. A headshot and a body shot within 10 meters are enough to down an enemy, which leads to a lot of really quick kills when using the grease gun in close quarters. The suppressor and large mag size make flanks so effective, as demonstrated by the first clip of this video. The only real weakness of the grease gun is its higher recoil and poor accuracy, which makes getting kills past close quarters more difficult. I use light in stock and improved accuracy specializations to slightly fix this issue. Of course, I throw the suppressor on as well. Next up, the MP28, which is a B tier weapon. It shoots at 670 rounds per minute with the Sten damage model. On paper, the MP28 should be an A or even S tier weapon. It has a high rate of fire, good hipfire accuracy, a large magazine size, and light in stock. However, in practice, it's really not as good as it would seem. It suffers from a similar issue as the EMP, where it's just not the best at anything. Its hipfire is good, but not as good as the MAB or Wellgun. It has a fast time to kill, but not as fast as the Suomi or Type 2A. It also has a decent amount of recoil. Though, don't get me wrong, it's still pretty good and definitely much better than the EMP. You can think of it as the STG of the medic class. The correct way to set up the MP28 specializations is to go for the extended mag and light stock to really lean into its jack-of-all-trades nature. The last bolt action in the medic class is the Jungle Carbine, which is a C tier. It can shoot it up to 95 rounds per minute with 2 shots to kill up to 100 meters and 3 shots forever after. This is the medic weapon with the most range and should ideally be used between 50 and 100 meters. It holds 10 bullets loaded individually and with 5 bullet clips. Unfortunately, unlike the Tromboncino, the Jungle Carbine forces you to choose between light in stock and an increased rate of fire. This is the main reason why I put the Tromboncino slightly above the Jungle Carbine, along with the much faster reload and the totally super useful grenade launcher of the Tromboncino. The correct specialization path is to choose the increased rate of fire instead of light in stock, and tack on better hipfire accuracy to make the gun a little more viable in close quarters. Another F tier weapon is the MP34, though it's not nearly as bad as the Commando Carbine. It can shoot up to 600 rounds per minute once upgraded, with essentially the same damage model as the Sten. The main issues with this gun are in its specializations. There's no light in stock, and you have to choose between increasing its very slow rate of fire and increasing its very small magazine size. By default, the MP34 has a rate of fire of 514 rounds per minute, which is the slowest out of all the SMGs that follow the Sten damage model. It also has the smallest default mag size of only 20 bullets. The only good aspects of the MP34 are its relatively low recoil, decent hipfire, and high muzzle velocity. Though muzzle velocity doesn't really matter much for SMGs. For specializations, the correct option is to increase the rate of fire instead of the mag size, because otherwise you would be losing in 1v1s to every other SMG. Next, we got the Type 100, a reliable B tier weapon. It shoots 720 rounds per minute with the same damage model as the Type 2A. The Type 100 is a Call of Duty gun that accidentally slipped into Battlefield. Like most COD guns, it has basically no recoil, a high rate of fire, and a slower time to kill. The slower time to kill is redeemed by the fact that the Type 100 is an absolute laser beam. It even has a bipod, which means you can actually take down enemies at farther ranges than you would expect from an SMG. The lack of recoil makes this the ideal SMG to go for headshots to reduce the lengthier time to kill. Per usual, I go with light and stock and quick aim. We're now going to look at a fan favorite, the M1928A1, better known as the Tommy gun. It has a default rate of fire of 720 rounds per minute and default mag size of 20 bullets. Like the Type 2A and the Suomi, the Tommy gun can be upgraded to 900 rounds per minute or a 50 bullet mag. It follows the Sten damage model as well. Like the Suomi and Type 2A, the Tommy gun's power comes from its fast time to kill and large magazine size. It can obliterate large groups of enemies like a 1940s gangsta and hold its own in a 1v1. I put it above the Suomi because it's a bit more versatile. While it has a slightly slower time to kill, the lower recoil allows the Tommy gun to do much better at medium range. I choose the same specs as I do for the Suomi, the extended mag and the decreased vertical recoil. The next gun is the MP40, which is right in front of the Sten at D tier. Battlefield really thought they could pull a fast one with the MP40 because it's a carbon copy of the Sten. It has the same rate of fire of 540 rounds per minute, same time to kill, same damage model, and same ammo capacity of 32 bullets. The only differences between the MP40 and Sten are that the MP40 has a little bit less horizontal recoil, a marginally slower muzzle velocity, and an ever so slightly faster reload speed. Muzzle velocity barely matters for SMGs, so the better recoil and reload put the MP40 one spot above the Sten. Just like the Sten, I go for the improved hipfire specs to combat the lack of light and stock. And finally, the ZK383 takes the number one S tier spot. Once upgraded, it shoots 720 rounds per minute with the Sten damage model. The ZK is the Sweat Lord's best friend. You'll catch some players using it in every single match on every single map. Once you've mastered the recoil of the ZK, it has no weakness. It has an incredibly fast time to kill while also having light and stock and a bipod and a decently sized magazine. Now there may be some of you watching who have used the ZK once or twice and are completely confused why I'm acting like it's God's greatest gift to mankind. Well, the ZK only becomes exceptional once you have the light bolt specialization equipped, which increases its rate of fire from 514 to 720 rounds per minute. If you haven't tried the ZK with light bolt, I greatly recommend you do so, as it is arguably the best and most aggressive weapon in the entire game. For specializations, I obviously choose light and stock and light bolt and add higher velocity bullets since the ZK's bipod actually allows you to use it at farther ranges than you'd expect. Well, that finishes the objectively correct and most accurate Battlefield 5 medic weapons tier list. If you disagreed with any of my rankings and rationale, you are simply wrong, but feel free to let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and if I see you using the Commando Carbine, I know you're in danger and call the police. Adios.